elements of the season to you. It's a blind insight with not a Christmas episode, but obviously we can't ignore it. So there will be Christmas talk thrown in, but also some other stuff as well. So it's me, Simon Hill, and Billy Spakeman. How we doing?
I'm all right, not too bad. Be glad when it's all in, here, over, done.
You're doing a lot of singing a lot of carols, I imagine.
Oh well, we try not to do too many, even when we're out busking. I mean, we did what was it called, Fountain Court, and we did about 20 minutes of carols, and then I suppose because they're a lot of them got early terms, late term dementia, they get fed up after about 10 minutes. So we started singing all the old sing-alongy things, and they get on with that. So it's finding the right balance, really, and finding unusual carols to sing. I mean, things that other people don't sing, or hymns that they don't sing, just as an interest thing for us. So you keep dropping one in that I think, oh, where's that from? And I wrote my own anyway, for Keith Horsfall, who's the head of the radio station, always does a special Christmas afternoon show after the King's speech, and he gets school kids to recite stuff and sing songs and that. And I always do part of the Nativity in Black Country. So this year people can expect the birth of Jesus in Albury, and the three kings come from the model in Langley, three brothers. And then I wrote a piece to go with it, La La Lu, the Baby Jesus, and it's just a Black Country version, of what I think of a hymn that should be sung. And it's great. It's gone down well. We've sung it at 2 or 3 places, and it's like a sing along to, because there's all loads of hallelujahs they can sing along to, and loads of la la lays. Yeah, so it's been good.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, for the next hour, we'll start off by talking about, if you listen to the last show, you'll know that between then and now I have been to warmer climes in Lanzarote, so I'll let you know what places I discovered over there, and how I went sightseeing the blind way, and then we'll move on to the topic of Christmas. We'll have a bit of music, and I've got a couple of my favourite Christmas comedy quotes to share with you, and we'll talk about what we like, what we don't like about Christmas, and then we've got a bit of in the name of sanity, because of something I came across this week. I'll ask you this question: what do you think connects thank God and good news, the two phrases?
Oh.
Well, I'll reveal that
later on.
and I've got a different take on the song "The 12 Days of Christmas" to finish off with a bit of fun. So, Lanzarote. Well, feels like a lifetime ago now, but I spent a good week there, and went on a couple of excursions. And although, as people will imagine, there is a lot that you can't take in as a blind person. You try and take what you can from it, as I sort of said on the previous episode. And the first place I visited was the Team and Fire National Park, which is basically a national park full of the volcanoes, and it's basically like a wasteland of just, because they've maintained it for research, so it hasn't been changed, or it's just been left as it was after the eruptions and everything, and it's just the way it's described is like miles of just rock and barely nothing growing there, and they've actually filmed. I can't remember which films but they've filmed a couple of films there.
Yeah, it is. I remember when we went, it's really, really desolate and sort of grey, and there's always like an asphalt smell all the time to it, really.
And so while I couldn't sort of take that bit in, but the one good bit was they showed you where, because the heat is still coming up from the earth, and they do a couple of demonstrations where they pour water down this one pipe, and then because of the heat it rockets out of another pipe in steam, because the heat's so hot coming up. So you hear that, and then they've got a restaurant there which is where they cook the food off the heat from the earth. So it's like
Blimey.
it must be one of the world's biggest open barbecues or
Yeah.
grills or whatever. So that was an interesting take.
Did they have to? Did the guys have to do anything different? Were you the only blind person, or
Yeah, as far as I know.
I mean, were they more descriptive? Were they more in terms tactile in a way, or
Yeah, well, again, it was in this case. It was because it was mainly outdoor stuff. There was a couple of bits where you could feel rock, but again, it's just it was more for the views really, and then but then explaining the history and everything and how it came about and everything. Obviously, I could listen to and take all that in and everything, and like I said, hear the effect that the pouring the water down had when it came whooshing up and everything, and but then it was a bit. There was a bit where you rode on the bus through like the park driving on, and I could feel the road and everything bending and winding and everything, but of course couldn't really. People did their best to explain like what they were looking at and everything, but it is hard to imagine it, but like I say, it's just so it was a lot about views, but there was still interesting to hear about how the whole island came about from a volcanic eruption, and the fact, like I said, that it's maintained and they haven't. I mean, I knew it was a volcanic island, but didn't realise it was such a. There was so much of it there, and it was such a big thing. So, but if you've got a good tour guide, then it's about listening to that they bring it alive with the stories and the descriptions, and so yeah. So.
and what was the journey like itself in terms of how I don't know how the flight folks dealt with you and going through passports and stuff like that?
Oh no, yeah, it was fine. There was a bit. Well, it was it was fine for me, but then there was based on the fact that some passengers literally turned up at the last minute, only got on the plane at the last minute due to hold-ups in security. We seemed to do quite well in that respect, but then the people on the flight were good. They actually came and spoke to me and said, did I want to look at the safety equipment or anything, or this, that, and the other, or and so they were good. Couldn't really ask any more from them, and then so like I say, it's more about because I don't need help in terms of a wheelchair and that sort of assistance. It's just a bit of being guided through and having a bit of a extra time rather than being stuck in a crowd that's trying to rush you or harry you. So
Yeah.
so no, it was all good. And then the other interesting place I visited is called the Jamias del Agua Caves, which means caves of water, and it's interesting to read about. So basically, it's an underground. It's where it is part of a tunnel that was formed by the volcanic eruptions, and it's created this tunnel that stretches for a good number of kilometres. And actually goes out under the sea, but within it is this feature that they've created, and it's you walk down some spiral stone stairs and you come to an underground lake. So it's sort of it's not a cave as in you're ducking and crawling and you've got anything like that, but it's actually a venue which they use for events, because they have there's cafes there and even a space for dance floor and also and different things. But the way you go down and find this lake, and you feel very sort of cut off from the world in a way, and it's quite sort of peaceful down there. And then you come out from that, and they've created like this sort of sunken garden, which is and then it's got a pool in there, and that's quite got a nice sort of atmosphere as well. So it's all calling it a cave is a bit misleading, really, but it's amazing how it's all been sort of all been made out of this underground sort of area, really. So it's and that's another interesting place I'd recommend people pay a visit to if they ever go there.
Were there any things that you'd say? I mean, say if somebody listens to the program and think, oh, I'm going to have a go at that. Are there any things that say a partially sighted or blind person has got to be careful of in terms of the actual trip and stuff?
Only, I mean, well, it's about, it's it's about knowing your own sort of limits. So, like, obviously, when you go into places like caves and the steps or things are not even and a bit, so you have to be careful. But so if as well as being blind, you're not particularly confident or steady on your feet, then that's probably not a good thing to do. But it's just about knowing your what your limitations are, and and just doing it the way you need to do it. So if you need to let the crowd go ahead, then go slower or whatever you need to do, or and if needs be, there's let the I mean, like, for example, on this trip they gave you the option of you could either go down into the underground area, or they would take you to a point where you could look down on you wouldn't be able to see all of it, but you could look down on parts of it from up above, so you didn't have to go down the tricky steps. So they do try and accommodate, because of course people may be able to see but not be able to walk very well. So it's just about knowing what your own what your own strengths are, or bits that you'd find difficult, and being realistic about it, really, I think.
Sounds interesting, though.
Yeah, it's and like I say, it's I think it's a shame, really, because people go to these places, particularly beach places and this, and they come away and one of the people one of the people I was with said they'd been there before, but they hadn't looked around like this, and it's a shame, really, that people go to these places but really never get out there and see what's actually there. So it's like, it's always something I like to come away thinking, whether I could see it or not, I've still learned a bit about the place, and got some sort of a experience from it to remember.
I suppose especially with kids, I suppose, isn't it? They think, well, we'll go on a complex. It's got everything we want. There's no need to move off the complex, and you might have all these fascinating things, that circle the complex that nobody ever bothers to go and see. Really, where like you say, to find something that you think, well, actually, I've found this and it's really been worthwhile coming. Must be a bonus, really.
Yeah, and again, but particularly if you have got the gift of being able to see, I'm told there's some stunning things to look at and some stunning views and this, that, the other. So if I get something out of it, then if you can see, then surely you want to get even more out of it. So everybody loves photos, don't they? Taking photos and whatever. So there's some really great. I take videos and for obviously not much help to me unless there's sound going on, but and send and show them to people, and they go, wow, that looks really good. So all I'd say is just people, whether you've got a disability or not, just if you're taking the time and spending the money going to these places, then see what they're about. Don't just have a hotel to remember, to see what other experience you can get out of it. But we'll move on to to Christmas. It's here, it's happening. It's December, so it's allowed. I don't know. What are you? Where are you? Are you in the camp with Scrooge and the Grinch, or?
Well, in a way, it's slightly. No, I quite like Christmas. In a way, it's slightly different because this is the time of year that I lost my wife. 17 years ago now. So it's you sort of learn to accept that everybody wants you to have a good time at Christmas, and you, to an extent, you do go along with it. I mean, unfortunately, we had twin daughters, and we've lost one of the twin daughters. So I'll go round to my other daughters. So there's a bit of it's sort of melancholy, but also nice, really, because you spend Christmas Day sharing memories and stuff, like great memories. So from that point of view, it's really nice, but you'd sooner have it the other way, if you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So it's sort of sadness tinged with a bit of joy, really, because you can share some great, great stories. You know, because when Sue was alive and Gemma was alive, Sue was definitely one for parties, and particularly because she was undergoing a lot of treatment for cancer and that. You know, we'd have hundreds of people in our house to these, and they were like legendary parties, and we'd write scripts and we'd get them to do these radio plays of the Nativity, or we did one, Snow White and the Seven Pitbock Wenches, and then we did another one, Lard, about Greece, and everybody would take it to spirit. So because we've got those memories, they're just great, you know. So when I'm
Yeah.
around my daughters, we end up just talking about the Christmases that have
Reminiscing
gone,
about
and reminiscing, and you know, and all the great times. You talk about going to Lanzarote. Ruth and Gemma were sort of part of a group, probably 30 strong, that from the age of 17, when they stopped going away with us, these 30 folks went to Ibiza every year for like 30 odd years, and Ruth still goes now, and there's not so many of them about. But of course, they'd always go away straight after Christmas and spend New Year. So again, there's all that stuff that they can. It is about sharing memories in it, and the people who enter become central to, you know, of Christmas anyway.
Yeah, and well, I think that's. We're gonna come on to it a bit later, because it's the difficulty of, yes, you know, on the one hand, yes, you've got memories, but then equally, if you then don't sort of, if the memories are only sort of yours, if you like, and the memories can't be sort of enjoyed, if you like, or they get to the point where, well, it can become a difficult thing rather than a positive. But it's good that if you've got other people to share the memories with, who know what you're talking about, and you know, can relate to it, then I think that's, yeah, that's always something. But
I think it's changed. I mean, I have no. I mean, you used to have standard things that you would look forward to on the box, and now it's, you know, I don't watch television because I just think this is just awful. How on
Well-
earth can they say this is Christmas entertainment?
well,
So don't bother.
no.
you know.
Well, it's funny. Well, I'm gonna, as I said, I've got a couple of my favourite. Only a couple, but I mean, there's plenty I could have dug out. But you know, Christmas telly. I mean, well, as always, the rest of the year I end up watching the Christmas stuff from years ago and realise it's about 20, 30 years old. But you know, it doesn't matter. You know, it's seasonal. It's, you know, it was funny then, it's funny now, or whatever you want. So, but yeah, as soon as you mentioned it, let's move on to Christmas telly, or good quotes from over the years. And like I said, I brought a couple along with me. By the way, I just remembered, I knew there was something else I wanted to say. When I was I think I stumbled across or discovered what Tommy Shelby's doing in his retirement, because I was in the bus on the way back from the hotel to the airport coming home, and suddenly this voice comes over the radio advertising leaky finders. And I thought, I desperately looked on YouTube to see if I could find it to play, but unfortunately I couldn't. But anyway, I looked it up when I got home, and it looks like there is a UK company. So whether they've got a Canary Islands branch or something as well.
Oh my God.
But yeah, leaky finders.
Well, I mean, we used to. Well, I mean, it's off the subject, but when we used to do the Black Country Festival, we always used to have the Black Country players, and they'd be dressed up in period costume and all that now. But since Peaky Blinders, there's a boatload of folks, and I mean, there must be a group that you have to hire, but there's about 40 blokes, women and men, and they're dressed like off the set of Peaky Blinders, and you just think, you know, why on earth do people think this is entertainment? Just watching these folks just walk around the streets, you know.
Yeah,
when
just
when we were kids, our mums and dads dressed like that anyway. So, you know.
So is the Peaky Blinders have gone into plumbing and household repairs.
Plumbing and household repair. Oh,
would you
great.
believe it?
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
But yeah, I've always enjoyed the Christmas comedies. I used to look forward to you know, because some comedies, of course, after they had a few series, they would only be on at Christmas. So that was the case with Fools and Horses, for example, and other ones, and yeah. So my first one I picked out is one from Mrs. Brown's Boys, where where she where she gives her take on why families end up rowing at Christmas.
Why do we do this, Mummy?
Do what?
Every year we end up having some stupid row. Why can't we just be like a normal family?
We are just like a normal family, Cathy. That's what families do at Christmas. They row. Families get together every Christmas just to remind themselves why they only get together once a year.
A Mummy truth.
Exactly.
Black Country Extra.
Yeah, so Mrs. Brown's theory is that families get together at Christmas to remind themselves why they ignore each other the rest of the year, basically. So there we go. So relate to that if you like, or maybe you think that's completely too harsh. But
we were talking off air when I said, well, I've never seen Mrs. Brown's Boys, and all Gavin and Stacey, and they're doing a Christmas. Presumably, it's the last.
Well,
one.
they
It's
did
a Christmas
one,
special. I don't know.
At least, well, they did one. Did one? Was it the years roll by? So it was either last year or the year before. I think they did one after the first one in however many years.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, I only sort of heard about it recently. Funny enough, but they've decided to do another one. I mean, so it's going to be the grand finale. I mean,
Yeah, it's supposed to be the grand finale, and things like I've never watched Home Alone, and there must be the standard Christmas things. I've never watched them, and people are going, "Oh, you've never watched Home Alone? Fantastic! 1 and 2 are absolutely brilliant." I go, "No, I've never watched it."
Have you ever watched The Great Escape?
But the original Great Escape, yeah.
See, I haven't still. That's still something I want. But again, it's the blind thing. I want to watch it either with someone to tell me what's going on with audio description, and as yet I haven't found it on with audio description.
Oh, really?
I'm hoping that at some
Classic.
point over Christmas it'll be on and I can catch it with a audio description. But it's funny, the things that that we don't end up watching or that other people rave about, and I mean, there's again each to their own. Like obviously the two Ronnies always did a good Christmas show.
Oh yeah, two Ronnies, Morecambe and Wise. We always used to wait for Sunday night at the London Palladium, their Christmas special, that sort of thing. And they're still funny. I mean, really, things like Morecambe and Wise made Andre Previn, because they used to humiliate a guest on the Christmas special, and Andre Previn, who was like right up there in the classical field, just went along with everything, and everybody just thought, oh, classical music might be cool, and if this bloke's cool, and it sort of started people listening to classical music. Angela Rippon, when she did the Splits, she was like the pinnacle of newsreaders, and then she goes on there, does a bit of dancing, does the Splits, and they're going, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Fantastic shows, absolutely brilliant shows.
And it's and like I say, I mean she's just. But I genuinely think now there's not. I mean, I can't think of anything I'm sort of really looking forward to watch at Christmas. So, like I said, I'll end up digging out the old stuff again, no doubt. But if you're a Gavin and Stacey fan, that's one to look out for. But
well, they'll do the Christmas, whatever it is, Christmas Strictly Come Dancing, won't they? They'll do Christmas MasterChef. They'll do all them sort of things, and you just think, why?
Well, it's a topic for another show, possibly. But of course, it's a blind guy who's just won Strictly Come Dancing. So
I think that's just amazing. I mean, I don't watch Strictly, but I purposely watched it just to try and understand how he did it, and I just couldn't. I mean, all right, so when you're dancing with your partner, there's a certain amount of relying on your partner. But there was so much of it where they were split apart, and he was still they were doing the steps in sequence, and then he was coming back to the point where they met perfectly. And I was thinking, how on earth do you gauge space and timing? It's just incredible what he did.
Yeah, I haven't. I still don't know whether. It depends how much vision you've got, and and obviously they practice it to death, and of course the thing is, if the other person can see, you can rely on them keeping in time with you.
Yeah.
So it's sort of so as long as you do the things what you need to do, the onus is on them then to mimic you or whatever. But but yeah, but we can talk about that more.
Yeah,
maybe another time.
fascinating. And I would imagine, like you say, it's for another programme. It's got to have raised the awareness and also the positivity of people that are blind, thinking, well, you know, what's the you know, the ceiling's the limit, isn't it? Really, if he can do that, we
Well,
should be able to do simple things and get out there and do something.
Well, you'd hope so, or more to the point, show that. I mean, again, it's a difficult thing because it's the balance between admiration and sort of why did you think that couldn't be done in the first place, and that sort of. But but then the other as listeners will have gathered, one of my favourite comedy characters is Victor Meldrew, and he came up with a quote from a Christmas episode, which I just, no matter how many times I watch it, it just stars me in tears. I just think it's absolutely brilliant, and so that's this one.
And that was a moving moment, wasn't it? When the angel of the Lord came down and said, "Bugger me, what the hell's happening here?"
I mean, that was 1990. So what the heck would the angel of the Lord say if they came down now? I mean, that's just absolutely.
It's hilarious. Just his voice as well, isn't it? He's just got such a fantastic voice.
Well, it's just I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's sometimes because he, having a posh voice, you don't expect him to come out with the things he does or something like that. But it's just the way. I mean, obviously, the writers wrote it and then Richard Wilson delivered it, but it's just the way obviously some of it's comic exaggeration, but just so much of it is just right on the money in terms of what is going on. So yeah, there were two that I picked out, but as I say, obviously lots of memorable ones from many people, the Ronnies, the Fools and Horses, and I always thought it was a shame really that because that Fools and Horses wasn't sort of brought back for next. Because you look at the ones now that are still going, you think, blimey, there was still mileage in that. But,
without a doubt. Yeah.
But then obviously now John Sullivan's no longer with us, so zero chance of that happening. But but then on the and talk about being no longer with us, the other side of the coin of Christmas, of course, is that there are people who are going to be on their own at Christmas, and and the stereotypical thing that's always sold is elderly people, but it's not just elderly people.
No.
And it's embarrassing for me to admit, but I'm going to end up going to be in that club of being on my own on Christmas Day this year. And when I say on my own, I mean I won't see a soul all day and might speak to a couple if I'm lucky. But the point is that you can, if you've got a disability, then it can hamper your options and ability to mix or get to places to be with other people, and it's it's very sort of difficult to sort of bridge that gap, and so it's what I would say to people is to just if you've got a big gathering at Christmas or whatever, then it's funny because in the office this week hearing people and they're all banging on about what they're going to be doing, kids, grandkids, or even them moaning about, and I'm thinking, I just think people need to be more sort of aware that there could be other people around them that would give a lot to have what they've got and are even complaining about having it at Christmas, and so it's just about being more mindful.
There was Katie who did the dementia show. Who does the dementia show? She had a Polish chap that she looked after at the lodge where for late-term dementia, and he passed away. And we used to make a point of going to the funerals if we could. And he was a lovely, I mean, his backstory was incredibly fascinating and stuff like that. And his daughter came up and it's relevant really to Christmas and loneliness, and said, talked about his dad being in the concentration camps and fighting on Monte Cassino. And she said, and he was a people's person. And she said at Christmas, he'd help his missus, because they're a really, really big family, help his missus get everything ready, blah, 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 and the family would start to come. And then they'd start to set the table for how many was there. And he'd always go down the Polish club for a beer, which the men did. You know, it was a tradition. Even my dad and my uncles always used to go down for half a pint before they come back for the dinner. And then he'd always say every year to his missus, set a place at the end of the table. So they set a place at the end of the table. And then he would always bring somebody back for dinner that would be on their own for Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Without fail, she said, and they would stop with them Christmas Day, and then you would walk back with them at Christmas night and have another pint with them, and then they'd go off and he'd come back. And you just think, how astounding is that? If everybody did that to one person that was on their own, it'd be phenomenal, wouldn't it?
And I just, it's one of the things that I dislike about Christmas, is that people seem to have, in every sense of the word, it's so much about how much, trying to do this, that and the other and cram so much in, and people feeling pressurised because they can't be in 2 or 3 places at once, or with, at 2 different tables at the same time, and, and all this craziness going on. And then you think that it's kind of all drifted away from the point of just simply, in the end, it's the simple stuff. It's not how much you spent on gifts. It's not how big a turkey you've cooked, or who's put on the fancier dinner, or all this, that, and the other that goes on. It's just simply people having time for each other, really, and because we seem to live in a world where nobody seems to have time anymore, or little time, and
it's a very, very big media thing. You must have. You start getting pummeled, end of August, September. I mean, whereas I can't remember anything Christmassy starting until December when I was a kid, really. But now you finish your summer holidays and everything's on the shelves, and you must do this and you must do this. And don't forget, in November there's going to be Black Friday that's going to go on for 3 weeks, and it's such intense pressure for people to make sure everything's perfect, really. And at the end of the day, what does it matter? It's one day. It's only one day.
Well, and that's the way, because when I think about it now, I think, well, yeah, okay, so I'm just going to try not to think of, everything else. I'll be there. I can put my favourite telly on. No one's going to moan at me or want to, tell me to do something else. And so you take the positives from it, but it's sort of, it's it's. I think the lesson is that if you've got the even when people are getting on your nerves, don't just think about would you rather be on your own or with them, and then don't take it for granted, because at any time it could happen to any of us, really. And I could answer a topical question that because it's the time of year now, of course, where Christmas cards are coming round, and now I'm back in the office, and I can sort of.
That's another one with me. I can't. Drives me balmy.
Well, the thing is, of course, is I can tell the awkwardness where people have, because no offence, but Christmas cards are about as pointless to me as window shopping.
Yeah.
There's just, but it's a gesture or whatever, and you take it what it is. But I can tell when people, because this is my first Christmas with new people, and they don't know whether they're
what to do.
They're offending me if I say I'll give you a Christmas card, or whether so all I would say is, if you can get the card done in Braille, brilliant, because that's easy to do now on the internet. Or but then someone I know then gets these cards that are like 3D cards, and I've got all sorts going on, and batteries, and then I feel really bad, because I think, well, I can't just chuck it away. So I end up stashing
I always make it plain, and I'll say to my daughter, because she's got loads of mates, and I'll say, look, tell all your mates I'm not sending cards out. So please don't buy. They still do it. They still buy you one. I said, because they'll just end up in a pile. I don't stick them around the house. I said, so please don't, tell them. And then the ones that they stick. Here's a Christmas on Facebook. Here's a Christmas thing to all of my friends. Well, I just don't get that either, really. I'm coming across as Mr. Scrooge. I mean, I don't dislike Christmas, but there's certain things, and I think
I don't dislike Christmas, but it's the way
save your money and don't send a card.
It's the way some people go about things. As and Christmas wishes on Facebook is a bit like birthday wishes on Facebook. I'm sorry, it's meaningless.
With all balloons and everything.
You haven't remembered my birthday. Facebook's just told you about it.
Yeah.
And you haven't done anything personal. You've just clicked the button on the, or whatever it is. And the same with Christmas, they just send out a message to, all these people. And I think that's part of the problem as well, that the genuineness and the individuality, in the past you would write a card to somebody and you'd put some thought into it. Or or whatever you were doing, whereas now it's just click a button and that's it. Everybody wished happy Christmas. And
there's somebody I know, and she says, I've just finished 96 cards. Why? Have you sent 90? Well, not sent, but it's like I've given all these things out, and I receive them, and I mean they're on the back of the studio here, and they're lovely, and you thank everybody there. But I always say, don't expect one back. I mean, I have to send my daughter one, and I have to send my granddaughter one, and really that's about it. And I think, well, there's no point, because I'll see people and just say, did you have a nice Christmas? And that's it.
But again, it comes down to the thing of how many people get a card of somebody at Christmas that hasn't bothered speaking to them all year.
Yeah, or you don't know.
Or you haven't even, so what's the point? Why have you gone to the trouble of writing me a Christmas card, but you haven't been bothered to pick up the phone or do it? So it just seems to bring out this thing. People do things out of, I don't know what it is, a sense of or tradition
it's
or habit.
Tradition, really.
And
tradition.
But really, when you break it down, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. And particularly if they've got a load to post and it costs them like £1 something per.
And not just that, like if it's, and in the end, what do people do with them? They stick them on the shelf and then, it's.
Well, some cut the fronts off and make something out of them for next year, which is great. They're recycling them. No, it's not a tradition that I have to adhere to, and I think it come from my dad. He used to say to me, Mum, Kath, why are you sending a card to everybody on the estate? We don't know everybody. There's like 500 people on the bloody estate, and they'd say, oh, then we're going to get one back, and you go, well, I don't want one back. Where are we going to put them? And I think I've got my dad's mentality, really.
But it's,
you'll see them in the street. You'll wish them a Merry Christmas. That's enough.
That's it. Or if you really like them, buy them a pint or something.
I mean, no, you'd see them in the street and you probably wouldn't talk to them, or they wouldn't talk to you. But I'll do it on purpose. I'll pass somebody up. Oh, Merry Christmas, mate. And they look at you as like, oh, he's after me money, or he's going to stab me or something.
Or start singing.
Singing,
I better answer the question that I posed earlier, which is connection with what connection between thank God and good news. Well, it's I'm afraid it's time for one of these.
What in the name of sanity?
Yeah, it was. The answer is, as I was going about my my work last week, I came across a person's claim, and they had 4 children, and I can't remember the other 2, but they were passed into oblivion by the fact that the first 2 names that came up were Thank God and Good News. And I did a triple take, a quadruple take, and I still couldn't believe it. And I just think, okay, there might be people that say, oh, it's a nice thing or whatever, but come on. Really? It's,
where would that come from?
I don't know. I just, and it's just,
I mean, I understand, I understand if you're naming them after a famous person, or, I don't know, your midwife or whatever it is, or you want to find it. I mean, there are a lot of, I suppose, celebrity children that have got weird names. But that's understandable because they're celebrities and they've got to find something really quirky. But, You know, why would you call something good news?
But then how would you address them? Like, I mean, would you just call
On the
them,
school register?
Yeah, and we just call them God. You know,
He's God in the room, ticking off the register. He's thanking the room. He's God in the room. No, he's thank God in. Yeah, I'm here, sir. And what nickname would your mates give you? I mean,
Yeah. But like, surely, we constantly hear about bullying and apparently that's getting worse. Well, parents giving their kids wacky names doesn't really help, I would suggest.
yeah. And yet they must be completely and utterly serious when they come up with a name, aren't they? I mean, those are extremes, aren't they? But you get people, I don't know, called Chili because they like chilies, or so they call the sun Chili or Sunset, or something like that. But I suppose the weirder it is, the more you try to understand the state of mind of the people when they gave it the name, and is it an agreement between both parties, or is it like I'm calling them Albion because I'm an Albion supporter?
It's like,
the Baggies. I'm going to call him Baggy because I'm a Baggy supporter. Don't know what you call him if he's a Wolves. What would you call him if he was a Wolves? A Dingle, wouldn't you?
Well, that's what. Yeah, well,
Dingle so and so. What?
Yeah, but I just when I think I've heard it all when it comes to names, that just stunned me. It absolutely blew me away. I couldn't believe it.
And did the other two have ordinary names, or?
I remember the one of the others was called Faith, which isn't
which ain't bad. Faith Hill. There's a country western singer called Faith Hill.
That
ain't too bad.
I can't recall what the fourth one was, but yeah, I was just absolutely. But then I've come across talking of names in general. I've come across someone else who was called Summer Holiday. And that's a sense of humour, and then another one called Handsome Hill. So funny enough that obviously having the same surname as me, but more to the point, when I had to reply to their message, it did not feel weird starting their message with "Hello, handsome."
Yeah, hello, handsome. How are you? And he goes, and also, I mean, you should have said, "Supply us a photograph. We need to make a decision on this."
Yeah,
it's a bit vain of you to call yourself handsome. Yeah.
So crazy stuff.
So I suppose you see some really weird stuff come through in a way.
Oh God, yeah.
Circumstance and things like that, really, which are just incredible.
Well, that's before you even got. Yeah, that's just the names that pop up, and you think before you've even done anything. So it's certainly interesting, but yeah. So
do you make? We've got a couple of minutes. Do you make New Year's resolutions or not?
No, I mean, again, well, the thing is, like, I don't really drink alcohol, so I can't give that up. I don't smoke. I don't. The only thing I could really give up is have less takeaways, but then I only have a couple of them a week at a weekend. I mean, is that really such a big thing? And then I just the thing is, of course, nothing really changes. You go into the new year and you're still trying to do the same as you were the year before. So what about you?
No, I never make them because I just think, well, you just do what you best you possibly can, and if you sustain something, it's sustained. Oh, we did on the Emerald Chainsaw. I'll try it with you on the mini. Is it Yorkshire pud on your Christmas dinner or not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you got to have Yorkshire.
There's only two people, you and the bloke I have a cup of coffee with. Everybody else says, no way, Yorkshire pudding on your. Why would you put Yorkshire pudding on your Christmas dinner?
Really?
Yeah. What was the second one? Brandy sauce or custard?
Oh, custard.
Custard. Nobody's said brandy sauce
Really?
yet.
Okay,
yeah. Well, you don't drink, so you're the same as me, so you can't have your favourite tipple. And there was one other. What was he? Oh, favourite Christmas song.
Oh.
Mine's A River by Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Or somebody played Jethro Tull Solstice Bells the other day, and I thought, wow, thank God somebody's played that.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, like I say, I could be the plump for one of the obvious ones, but there are so many that don't get enough of an airing, really, that get forgotten. But it's a tough one.
I mean, most people said, like Slade or White Christmas or Wham, but Joni Mitchell's just got something, because it's a winter song rather than a Christmas song, but I always associate it with Christmas. But great. You've got about 40 seconds.
Okay, well, yes, we'll have a happy Christmas, whatever it is you are doing, and if you are going to be ending up on your own, then, you know, you may be there, maybe physically alone, but you're not alone, because there's a few of us in that situation for one reason or another. And to finish off, I've brought in a song which is a new version of a new take on the 12 Days of Christmas, and whether you're in the camp of with Scrooge and the Grinch, or just a parent at the end of your tether, I'm sure there'll be something in here that you can relate to. So we'll see you next year.
Great stuff.
The first thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me is finding a Christmas tree. The second thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Rigging up the lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The third thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Hangovers. Rigging up the lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The fourth thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Sending Christmas cards.
Hangovers. Rigging up the lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The fifth thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me, 5 months of bills,
Sending Christmas cards.
Hangovers. Rigging up the lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The sixth thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Facing my in-laws.
5 months of bills,
Oh, I hate those Christmas cards.
Hangovers. Rigging up these lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The seventh thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Salvation Army.
Facing my in-laws.
5 months of bills,
Sending Christmas cards.
Oh, jeez. I'm trying to rig up these lights.
and finding a Christmas tree. The eighth thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Transformer for Christmas!
Charities. And what do you mean, your in-laws?
5 months of bills,
Ah, making out these cards.
Edith, get me up here, huh? Well, we have no extension
and
cords.
finding a Christmas tree. The ninth thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Finding parking spaces.
Daddy, I want some candy!
Donations.
Facing my in-laws.
5 months of bills,
Writing out those Christmas cards.
Hangovers. Now, why the hell are they blinking?
and finding a Christmas tree. The 10th thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Battery's not included.
No parking spaces.
Buy me something!
Get a job, you bum.
Facing the in-laws.
5 months of bills,
Yo ho, sending Christmas cards.
Oh, jeez, look at this. One light goes out, they all go out.
and finding a Christmas tree. The 11th thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Stale TV special.
Battery's not included.
No parking spaces.
Oh my God, go to the bathroom!
Charities.
She's a witch, I hate her.
5 months of bills,
Oh, I don't even know half these people.
Who's got the toilet paper?
Get a flashlight and blow a fuse!
and finding a Christmas tree. The 12th thing at Christmas that's such a pain to me,
Singing Christmas carols.
Stale TV special.
Battery's not included.
No parking. Charities.
Gotta make them dinner.
5 months of bills,
I'm not sending them this year, that's it.
Shut up, you.
Fine, you're so smart, you rig up the lights!
and finding a Christmas tree.